Comfort feels good. That's the entire reason it's dangerous. Most people don't wake up one day and decide to ruin their potential. They don't consciously choose distraction, procrastination, or stagnation. What actually happens is much quieter. They slowly build a life designed entirely around comfort. Small conveniences appear everywhere. Food becomes easier to get. Entertainment becomes endless. Distractions become constant, and effort becomes optional. At first, this feels like progress. After all, modern life is supposed to be easier. Technology saves time. Services remove inconvenience. Everything is optimized for comfort. But there's a hidden side effect most people never notice. The easier life becomes, the less your brain needs to struggle. And struggle is the environment where growth normally happens. For most of human history, effort was unavoidable. If you wanted food, you worked for it. If you wanted shelter, you built it. If you wanted progress, you had to endure discomfort. But the modern world removed many of those pressures. You no longer need to struggle to survive, which sounds like a good thing. But it creates a new problem. Without external pressure, growth becomes voluntary. And when growth is voluntary, comfort usually wins. Because the human brain naturally prefers the path that requires the least effort. This isn't laziness, it's biology. Your brain is designed to conserve energy. For thousands of years, conserving energy increased the chances of survival. But today, that same instinct can quietly sabotage your future. Because the path of least resistance is almost never the path that leads to meaningful progress. It's the path that keeps you exactly where you are. This is what psychologists often describe as the comfort zone, a place where everything feels safe, predictable, familiar. Inside the comfort zone, stress is minimal, risk is low, failure is unlikely, but something else is also missing. Growth. Real growth almost always lives just outside the boundaries of comfort. Learning a new skill, building a business, improving your health, developing discipline. All of these require one uncomfortable ingredient: effort. And effort means stepping outside the comfort zone. The problem is that most modern environments constantly pull you back inside it. Your phone offers easy stimulation. Streaming platforms offer endless entertainment. Algorithms deliver content perfectly designed to keep you engaged. Every one of these systems is optimized for the same thing: convenience. And convenience slowly trains the brain to expect comfort at all times. Over time, something subtle begins to happen. Your tolerance for discomfort starts shrinking. Tasks that once felt normal start feeling difficult. Focusing becomes harder. Starting becomes harder. Even small challenges begin to feel overwhelming. Not because the challenges changed, but because your brain adapted to a life where discomfort is rare. This is how the comfort trap forms. Not through one big decision, but through thousands of tiny choices that prioritize ease over effort. And the longer someone stays inside that trap, the harder it becomes to leave. At first, comfort feels harmless. You relax a little more. You postpone difficult tasks just for today. You choose the easier option when two choices appear. Nothing dramatic happens. Your life still looks normal. You still have goals. You still believe you will start tomorrow. But the brain is always learning from repetition. Every action teaches it something. And when comfort becomes the most repeated experience in your day, your brain begins adapting to it. This adaptation is subtle. You don't feel it happening. But over time, your relationship with effort begins to change. Tasks that once felt normal begin to feel heavier. Starting work becomes harder. Focusing becomes harder. Even simple responsibilities start to feel mentally exhausting. Most people interpret this as laziness. They think they lost their discipline. But what's actually happening is much more mechanical. Your brain has adjusted its expectations. When your daily life contains constant comfort, your brain begins expecting that comfort everywhere. It starts believing that effort is unusual, and when something feels unusual, the brain naturally tries to avoid it. This is how motivation slowly disappears. Not because motivation itself is broken, but because the environment trained the brain to expect immediate rewards. Think about how many modern activities provide instant gratification. Scrolling social media, watching short videos, ordering food, playing games. All of these activities deliver stimulation immediately. There is no waiting, no effort, no discomfort. The brain quickly learns that rewards should be fast and easy, but meaningful goals don't work that way. Learning a skill takes time. Building a career takes patience. Improving your health requires consistency. None of these things provide instant rewards. In fact, they often feel frustrating at the beginning. Progress is slow, results are delayed, and the brain struggles to stay engaged when rewards are far away. This creates a dangerous comparison. On one side, you have activities that provide immediate dopamine. On the other side, you have goals that require patience and effort. The brain almost always prefers the faster reward, not because it lacks ambition, but because it is responding to the environment it has adapted to. Over time, this difference becomes larger. Comfortable activities become more attractive. Difficult activities become more intimidating. And the gap between what you want to achieve and what you actually do begins to grow. Many people eventually reach a frustrating point. They know what they should do. They know what would improve their life. But starting feels strangely difficult, even when the task itself is not complicated. This is one of the clearest signs of the comfort trap. Your brain has become so used to ease that even small amounts of discomfort feel overwhelming. And the longer someone stays in that state, the more motivation continues to shrink. Because motivation does not grow in environments built entirely around comfort. It grows in environments that require effort. For a long time, the comfort trap doesn't feel like a trap at all. Life feels normal. You still go to work. You still watch content. You still make plans for the future. From the outside, everything looks fine. But internally, something slowly begins to change. Days start feeling repetitive. You wake up, go through the same routine, consume the same content, and end the day feeling strangely unfulfilled. Nothing feels dramatically wrong, but nothing feels deeply satisfying either. This is the strange psychological space where many people spend years without noticing. Comfortable but stagnant. Busy but not progressing. Entertained but not fulfilled. The brain is constantly stimulated, but very little real progress is happening. At first, this doesn't bother most people. They assume it's temporary. They tell themselves they'll start improving things soon, next week, next month, next year. But time moves faster than most people expect. Weeks become months, months become years. And one day something triggers a moment of reflection. Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it's seeing someone else succeed. Maybe it's realizing that goals from years ago still haven't been started. Suddenly, the pattern becomes visible. You realize that a lot of time has passed, but very little has changed. That moment can feel uncomfortable, sometimes even frightening, because the realization is simple but powerful. You were not trapped by circumstances. You were trapped by comfort. Nothing forced you to stop growing. Nothing blocked your potential. But comfort slowly replaced effort, and entertainment slowly replaced progress. This realization creates a strange emotional reaction. Part of you feels regret, another part feels frustration, but another part feels something even more important. Awareness. And awareness is the first real step out of the comfort trap. Because once you clearly see the pattern, it becomes harder to ignore. You start noticing how often you choose the easier option, how often distractions interrupt important work, how often small moments of comfort replace meaningful effort. These moments begin to stand out. You see them during the day. You see them when you reach for your phone. You see them when you delay something important. And slowly a new question begins appearing in your mind. What would happen if I stopped choosing comfort every time? This is the moment where change becomes possible, not because the environment suddenly changed, but because your awareness did. For the first time, you begin recognizing the invisible force that has been shaping your behavior. Comfort. And once you see it clearly, you can begin doing something that most people never attempt. You can start stepping outside it. Escaping the comfort trap does not require extreme discipline. It does not require a complete transformation of your life overnight. In fact, trying to force a dramatic change is one of the fastest ways to fail, because the brain strongly resists sudden disruption. If you push yourself too far outside your normal routine, the brain interprets that change as a threat. Stress increases, resistance increases, and eventually the system pushes you back toward familiar habits. This is why many people try to change their lives with huge bursts of motivation. They decide they will wake up earlier, exercise every day, work harder, eliminate distractions, and become a completely different person. But within a few weeks, the plan collapses, not because they lack potential, but because the brain prefers gradual adaptation. Real change usually begins with something much smaller. A small amount of intentional discomfort. Instead of avoiding difficulty every time it appears, you begin accepting small challenges on purpose. You take the slightly harder option. You start the task even when you don't feel like it. You stay focused for a few minutes longer than usual. These moments might seem insignificant, but they do something powerful inside the brain. They slowly retrain your tolerance for discomfort. Remember, the comfort trap formed because your brain adapted to ease. Escaping it requires a different kind of adaptation. Your brain must slowly relearn that discomfort is not dangerous, that effort is normal, that challenges are part of growth. The easiest way to build this adaptation is through repetition. Small daily challenges, simple tasks that require focus, moments where you deliberately choose effort over convenience. For example, you work for 30 minutes without checking your phone. You complete a task before allowing yourself entertainment. You finish something difficult instead of postponing it. Each time you do this, the brain records a new experience. Effort followed by completion, discomfort followed by progress. Over time, these experiences begin reshaping your expectations. The brain starts recognizing effort as something that leads to reward, and slowly the resistance begins to decrease. What once felt uncomfortable becomes manageable. What once felt difficult becomes routine. This is how people gradually expand their comfort zone, not through sudden leaps, but through consistent exposure to small challenges. And as that zone expands, something interesting begins to happen. Your confidence grows, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you realize you can handle difficulty. That realization changes how you approach challenges. Instead of avoiding effort, you begin trusting your ability to work through it. And that shift is one of the most powerful ways to escape the comfort trap. Escaping the comfort trap is not just about willpower, it's about design. Most people try to improve their lives by fighting their habits every single day. They rely on motivation. They promise themselves they will try harder tomorrow. They hope they will feel more disciplined next week. But hope is not a reliable system because motivation changes constantly. Some days you feel driven, other days you feel tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. If your progress depends on motivation, your progress will always be unstable. That's why the most effective way to escape the comfort trap is not by forcing yourself to struggle constantly. It's by designing a life where growth becomes the natural direction. Think about how your environment influences your behavior. If distractions are everywhere, distraction becomes the default. If entertainment is always one click away, entertainment becomes the default. Your brain simply follows the path that is easiest in the moment. But that same principle can work in your favor. Instead of designing a life that makes comfort effortless, you can design one that makes progress easier. Small changes in your environment can create powerful shifts in behavior. For example, you place your phone outside the room while working. You schedule focused work blocks during the same time each day. You create routines that automatically lead into productive tasks. You surround yourself with tools and environments that support concentration. These adjustments may seem simple, but they change something important. They reduce the number of moments where you must rely on willpower. The structure itself begins guiding your behavior. Over time, the brain adapts to the new pattern. Effort becomes normal. Focus becomes easier. Progress becomes consistent. And slowly, the comfort trap loses its control. The goal is not to eliminate comfort entirely. Comfort has its place. Rest is necessary. Recovery is important. But when comfort becomes the dominant force shaping your life, growth disappears. Balance is what creates progress. Moments of effort followed by moments of rest. Challenges followed by recovery. Growth followed by reflection. When life contains both comfort and challenge, something powerful begins to happen. You stop feeling trapped by your habits. You begin shaping them intentionally. And once you learn how to design a life that encourages effort instead of avoiding it, the comfort trap stops being a permanent prison. It becomes something you can step outside whenever you choose.